You know, here on the show, it's always sad, isn't it, when we lose one of our favourite chums? You know, the sort of thing. It's sad because, you know, you realise that they leave behind, well, a lot of fun, a lot of laughs, a lot of talent. Sound like Cilla Black there, don't it? A lot of this, a lot of that. But you know what I mean? They do. And when you spend some time with them, and you're very lucky to have met them and literally just enjoyed off camera a cup of tea and a biscuit and chatting about the wonderful days that they started their career in, the late 50s, of course, in the early 60s. A time really when rock and roll was at the infancy. And as I said, I've been lucky enough to meet many of those people like Tommy Steele, Eden Kane, Marty Wilde, and this man who sadly left us all too soon, Mike Berry, better known, of course, as Mr. Spooner from Are You Being Served? As ever, let me explain. Good to see you today, chums, in a very sort of, well, starting to drizzle London, if you know what I'm saying. Yes, never a good look, is it? But there you go. Mike Berry, for many people, because we all loved Are You Being Served, didn't we? And, you know, when you think about it, I was lucky enough again to meet the creators, Croft and Perry, two separate occasions. And what was nice about it was I didn't realise that it was a fluke how the programme actually got on air, because there was a strike. They'd already made the pilot, they shoved it on, and suddenly a hit was born. We all loved them. Who was your favourite? I loved Captain Peacock. I met Frank Thornton, lovely man, really down-to-earth chap, but I loved the hoitiness of it. And I do remember some stores when I was growing up that still had versions of Captain Peacock. And when I first came to London, you know, Dax, the store just in Jermyn Street, I went in, and that was the store that Are You Being Served was based on. And a lot of the staff were still like that, you know. You couldn't just go up and pick up things like you can today. No, somebody else had to present them to you. And it was all Mr. and Miss. Very nice, different time. This, of course, was a character that Mike Berry created in the guise of Mr. Spooner. And what was interesting about Mike was he'd already had stardom at a very young age, starting out in the late 50s with his own skiffle group. But he had a brilliant, strong voice, and that was the key to it all. He teamed up with Decca Records with this man, Joe Meek, a controversial record producer who really did create sounds that nobody'd ever heard before. If you know his song Telstar by the Tornadoes, you know the one. This was groundbreaking in its time, chums, let me tell you, because it was a different sound, you know. You can imagine when that came on the radio, people would have thought, wow, but he created it all in a house in Holloway. There's a blue plaque there, so if you come to London, go and have a look. A tragic ending, but what a level of music he left behind. Now, Mike told me it was very difficult working with him because, you know, he was demanding, was difficult, and grew tired of you very quickly if you didn't have that all-important hit. Let's not forget, Joe Meek turned down the Beatles, as many did, because he'd already got his own pop stars, as you can imagine. But Mike Berry was a clever man. He was more than that. He also became an actor, all thanks to starring in things like Willie Russell's One for the Road on stage to great acclaim. And also, he was in that brilliant kids' TV series. Yes, who remembers Wurzel Gummidge? You do, yes. If you've never checked out Wurzel Gummidge with the brilliant John Pertwee in the main role, check it out. Now, Mike Berry, as I said, was the king of reinvention, in my opinion, because around the time of this first interview that we did together, he decided to go on the reality TV show, The Voice. And this is the blind auditions, you know, where you just, nobody knows who you are, basically. And he didn't get through. And I said, were you hurt by that? And he said, not at all. It just proves that ultimately it's about the whole package. Do you look good? Are you young? Is it the right place, the right time? He knew exactly what the deal was. And that really, I felt, was the enduring power of him. Not only that, he toured with the likes of the Rolling Stones, made records with the rest of Buddy Holly's Crickets, and just loved the whole rock and roll persona image. I said to him, are you sad that you didn't become bigger? And he said, no, not really, because he was on the fringes of it all. Literally, as I say, with the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, doing those wonderful package tours that was so successful in the early 60s. A time when, of course, everybody was learning the game. Nobody knew about marketing, influencing. It was all about, did you have talent? And Mike Berry literally had a lot of talent. You see, way back in the 80s, he came back into the charts with a brilliant track called The Sunshine of Your Smile. Back again on Top of the Pops, produced by Chaz Davies, and of course one half of Chaz and Dave, you know those. Well, he just was the king, as I say, of reinvention. It was lovely to spend some time with him, and he was a nice, down-to-earth chap who'd done a lot. But of course, he'll always be remembered for the many laughs that he gave us alongside the brilliant cast of the wonderful sitcom that was Are You Being Served? Rest in peace, Mike Berry. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.